The night air was soaked in rain, dripping endlessly from the tin roof of a small roadside stall. Inside, a barefoot boy named Raphael wiped tables beside his weary mother. Their smiles hid hunger and long nights of struggle, but music always filled their silence. One stormy evening, a drenched tourist left behind a broken guitar. Raphael picked it up like a treasure, fixing it with tape, fishing line, and faith. Each night after work, he sat by the roadside, strumming under the flickering lamplight, his voice trembling at first, then blooming into something pure and haunting. He sang softly, the words flowing with emotion, as if his soul was reaching for something beyond the stars. One night, a car stopped. Inside sat a music producer who was stranded by the rain. He rolled down his window, stunned by the sound. Raphael sang "Hotel California" with a voice that carried every ache, every sacrifice, and every prayer he had ever known. The man stepped out, eyes glistening. "Sing that again," he whispered. When Raphael did, the man couldn't hold back his tears. "Kid," he said, his voice shaking, "you're going to change your life." That night, the rain no longer felt cold, it felt like hope finally knocking on their door. Months later, Raphael found himself behind the heavy curtains of a massive talent stage. His hands trembled around that same patched guitar. The bright lights were terrifying, the crowd endless, the judges' faces unreadable. When his name was called, whispers swept through the audience. No shoes, no fancy clothes, just a poor boy from nowhere. Then he began to sing. The first chord silenced the room. His voice rose, deep and raw, echoing through the hall. It carried the story of every sleepless night, every sacrifice his mother made, every dream that refused to die. When he sang "Hotel California," it was no longer just a song, it was a confession of a heart that had seen too much pain yet refused to give up. The words trembled with truth. When he hit the final verse, his eyes glistened, and his voice cracked, not from fear, but from love. The audience was frozen, many crying quietly. When the last note faded, there was silence so deep it hurt. Then came the roar, applause that felt like thunder. The judges stood, clapping with tears streaming down their faces. In that moment, Raphael wasn't just a singer, he was every broken dream finally finding its wings. Backstage, chaos followed, reporters, flashes, questions, but Raphael's eyes searched only for one face, his mother's. She wasn't there. A crew member approached him quietly and handed him a small, folded note. The paper was damp, the ink slightly smudged. It read, "Sing for me, my son. I'm watching from heaven now." His hands trembled. The producer who had discovered him placed a comforting hand on his shoulder. "She passed this morning," he said softly. "She wanted you to go on." The world spun around Raphael. His knees hit the floor as tears streamed uncontrollably. The crowd outside cheered for his name, but he could only hear her voice whispering from memory, "Rafa, sing for kindness, not fame." He looked up, clutching the note to his chest, and whispered, "This is for you, Mama." When he stepped back on stage to bow, the audience saw something they couldn't explain, an unshakable calm, a radiance in his eyes. He didn't smile for glory. He smiled for love that lived beyond life itself. Months later, fame couldn't change him. He returned to the same small street, now lined with flowers and laughter. He rebuilt his mother's stall, painting it bright blue, hanging her picture near the counter. He could have chosen luxury and fame, but instead he chose humility and service. Every weekend, he sang for free to children and workers, the same people who once shared their food with him. He started a small foundation to teach poor kids music. "I don't want to be famous," he said to a reporter one day. "I just want to help others find their song." During one sunset, the same producer visited quietly, watching Raphael perform at the market. When the song ended, he approached and whispered, "Your mother didn't raise a singer, Rafa. She raised a light." Raphael smiled gently, eyes full of gratitude. "Then let me shine for her." The melody of Hotel California drifted through the air again, but this time it wasn't a song, it was a prayer for every soul that had ever lost and loved. Years later, Raphael's story became legend. Not because he was a celebrity, but because of what he gave back. Schools, hospitals, and orphanages played his songs every dawn, believing his voice brought peace. One day, a young boy entered a televised audition holding a patched guitar. The judges asked where it came from. The boy smiled shyly and said, "A man named Raphael gave it to me." He said, "Dreams don't belong to the rich, they belong to the brave." The audience watched as the boy sang Hotel California, his small voice trembling yet beautiful. Backstage, a framed photograph hung quietly, Raphael and his mother, smiling beside their food stall. The boy's song filled the hall with the same love, the same kindness that had once changed Raphael's life. When he finished, everyone was in tears. The host whispered, "History just repeated itself." And somewhere beyond the clouds, a mother's spirit smiled, proud and at peace, because her son's kindness had become eternal. His melody lived on, not in fame, but in hearts that now believed that kindness, when shared, never dies.